And welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on Paramount Plus that wants to eat your ego. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge All-Stars Season 4 Episode 9. And this episode really answers the question of what if last week just never happened? Now I know that's a little drastic because things do happen in this week's episode. A lot of interesting, head-scratching things happen, which I have some opinions about, so let's waste no time getting into the review and recap. Let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Cam going in against Tina, winning and taking Cara's star. And we come back to the challenge house, and we have a house party. Now, this is where the editing is top tier for me, because let's just say that the challenge isn't very subtle in the way that they edit their episodes and kind of spoiling in the very early parts of the episodes of who could possibly be going into the eliminations or who's winning the daily challenges. A lot of comments have been left in my review and recaps comment sections talking about the foreshadowing in the episodes being too heavy-handed and giving a lot away, especially when players who don't get a lot of camera time get a lot of camera time early on. Like when we see Flora getting an early confessional, I was thinking, okay, so Flora's probably going into this week's elimination. Then we got a good amount of confessionals from Ryan, and I was like, okay, so maybe it's a double elimination. We get deeper into the backstory of why Averey is here. She wants to win the money. That way she can help pay for housing for her brother who has a full scholarship to a university, except that money will not pay for housing. So she wants to help him achieve his dreams and not have to worry about paying for housing. We also get a confessional from Jay, who is itching to go into the elimination. So we got a lot of people getting confessionals in this early part of the episode, and I was thinking, I had the read on this episode, everything was on lock, but realistically, that was all an illusion because none of those people are really driving the story this episode. No, we go back to Cara and Nicole. Let's go to a conversation where Steve and Cara are hanging out in the gym area. We find out that they're cool with each other. We see what's happening in the living room with Nicole, Ace, and a few other people, and Nicole in the house has this mentality where if that person is my friend, he can't talk to anybody that I'm not cool with. She even says that. Steve is my friend. Why is he talking to Cara? How about there's like only 14 people in the house and maybe he can talk and be cool with both of you, even if y'all aren't cool with each other. Nicole gets very paranoid and she decides to confront Cara and Steve, and the way she approaches them is calling Cara salty. This conversation ends with Nicole saying, "Keep my name out of your mouth," and Cara just saying Nicole over and over and over again and asking her to leave. One of the most pointless conversations we've ever seen in the challenge. But this does lead into a conversation where Cara is talking to Jay and Cam, and Flora is also there, and Cara is complaining about Nicole and then calls her an idiot. Now, Nicole isn't in the room, it was unnecessary, and Flora is quick to jump on Cara, telling her it was rude and don't call Nicole names. When she gets into the confessionals, she is quick to call Cara a baby and rude and all this other stuff, and we even hear some of that when Flora goes and talks to Laurel. A lot of riveting stuff. There's a lot of things to juggle in the first part of this episode, but now it's time to put everything on hold. Everybody dons their challenge gear to meet up with TJ for this week's daily challenge called Run the Plank. This daily challenge will be ran in pairs. In this daily challenge, the pairs are going to have to climb ladders up to the top of this platform. You're going to have to run across the plank, jump, and try to hold on to a ball as you're falling towards the water. The pairs are going to have to repeat this process until their maze are lowered enough to where they can swim to it, undo the star pieces from the maze, and plant them in your station. The 4 pairs to do this the slowest will be in the losers group, and then TJ catches everybody off guard, including myself, saying that this will be a women's elimination day. In the first heat, we have the 4 pairs of Cam and Leroy, Cara, Ace, Veronica, Ryan, Flora, and Steve starting things off. Now, right off the bat, we get a disqualification from Cam and Leroy. Cam was able to climb all the way up to the top, but then when looking down, she was too scared to jump. She does talk in the confessional about her postpartum anxiety, and she even talks about it in the Challenge Official podcast episode that she did last week, that she was struggling with like driving and heights, and she just felt really uncomfortable. They were both disqualified and dumped right into the losers group. Something I realized in this past week's episode is that Flora is going to get the Anissa treatment. I deem it to the player player on the season that is middling, somewhat average performance in the daily challenges. And even though they're not performing fantastic on the season, they somehow make it very deep into the season. But you just know that at some point, they're going to be sent into the elimination right before the final and get eliminated. And I'll give it to Flora. She climbed the rig and she jumped off the plank, but she never tried to grab the ball. She did just enough to stay in the competition, and then Steve just did a lot of the work himself. Cara and Ace finished Heat 1 first, then it was Flora and Steve. Veronica and Ryan finished third, and as I mentioned, Cam and Leroy were disqualified. Now going into Heat 2, these players were able to see how Heat 1 went. They were much bullish in their approach, and they were able to complete this challenge with flying colors. Now, one thing that was very interesting is that Jay is going all out to help Nicole. He's disappointed that this isn't a men's elimination day, but he's paired up with Nicole. She has a star. He's gonna do whatever in his power to help her keep the star and win into power to help keep her star. But Nicole is actively sabotaging their pair so that Laurel can win. She wants Laurel to get the opportunity to go down into the elimination, send herself down, and get a star. Well, the plan is in motion because Laurel and Derek finish first in their heat, then Averey and Adam, and Nicole and Jay. Something I feel I rarely have ever seen happen on the challenge is when TJ gives the results that the whole first heat lost. Laurel and Derek win, and then the middle group is Nicole, Jay, Averey, and Adam. And with how the daily challenge was shaken up, coming back to the challenge house, Veronica is a little nervous because she's like, look, I'm in the losers group again. I think there's bigger fish to fry, and if people are smart, this late in the game, you gotta send major players against each other. And she's hoping that people are smart and send Cam and Cara into the elimination, and whether Laurel throws herself in or not, that locks in one strong player will be eliminated from the game this week. Now, to myself, I was thinking there's no way. The best way for Cara to not get her star back, which is Laurel's whole plan that they had last week with Laurel and Cam like shaking on the deal of like take Cara's star and then get her out of here. But if you freeze her out of an elimination, she could never get her star back. So that's what I thought the plan was gonna be. Oh, but how wrong I was, because we go to a conversation with Laurel and Nicole, and Laurel is like frothing at the mouth to want to send Cara into the elimination. She's like, look, send her in, and then I'm gonna send myself in, take care of business, get my star, and let's go to the final. Nicole asks Laurel, are you sure? And Laurel looks at her and says, quote, it's gonna be me and her, talking about Laurel and Cara, it's gonna be me and her 150%. Now, Laurel also does say in the confessional that she has gone against Cara in many eliminations and won against her in many different ways. Many in this case would equal 2 times they faced off against each other in eliminations, and both times were pretty physical eliminations. She's never gone against her in like a puzzle or anything. But Laurel in this rivalry and in this elimination matchup record has had the edge on Cara. And for one, she seems very confident. Now, hearing Laurel really wants to go against Cara, I'm excited. You know, these are 2 titans. The history that they share with each other, this rivalry that has been bubbling since season 19, the on again, off again friendship, what happened in last episode at the nomination ceremony. I'm like, this is going to be exciting. Ace does give Cara a heads up that the murmurings around the house is that it's going to be you, Cara, and Cam being nominated together. Cara at first is like, whoa, that's wild. But after a while, she's like, look, I have to go back into the elimination regardless. I just want the opportunity to get a star back. We move on to a conversation with Laurel and Cam, where Laurel is giving Cam a heads up that, hey, would you be okay being the pawn next to Cara? No matter what, I'm going to swap out with you and take Cara out myself. Cam is a little hesitant, but is a team player. She trusts Laurel. I mean, Cam fulfilled her part of the bargain last week with taking Cara's star, and was willing to go up against Cara in last week's elimination if it came down to it. Now it's time for Laurel to pony up on her side of the bargain. We move on to the nominations, where it's a clean sweep, where Adam, Averey, and Nicole all vote Cara and Cam. Jay is the person like, whoa, let's hold on here. Nicole, I'm looking out for you. Here's some strategy. What if Cara goes into the elimination? Laurel, does go down there. Somehow Cara comes out and wins, and then she's gonna take your star. Do you want to take that risk? And Nicole has so much faith that Laurel will send herself down there and win. Like, she is like 150% certain that Laurel is gonna go down there and take care of business. So with that guarantee from Nicole and Laurel, Jay makes it a clean sweep. We have Cam and Cara nominated with the intention that Laurel will send herself down there and take Cara out herself. Now, this is shaping up to be a really good elimination. That is until we get to the arena and Laurel sees that there's like mud pits and water trenches with cages on top of them and then balls on top of the cages, and she starts to backtrack in her thinking. Now, before I get into one line of thinking, I do want to talk about the pros of how Laurel handled all of this leading up to the elimination. I think it was really smart to ensure that Cam and Cara would be nominated to go down to the elimination together initially, so that just in case this exact moment happens, that they walk into the arena, Laurel looks down there, doesn't like the elimination game, she ensures that we have 2 strong players in the elimination already, and that 2 of them go in, and only one of them will come back. I think that was very smart. And as an audience member, you can't be frustrated with the matchup that we are settled with, where it's Cam versus Cara. This has organically been building this entire season. The narrative of this whole season has been Cara versus Cam. I mean, just last week, Cam stole Cara's star. And now we have a really good matchup of 2 strong players, 2 strong women who have great elimination records going head to head. But in the context of this episode, it's a little bit of a letdown. I mean, from the halfway point of this episode all the way up to this moment, Laurel has said nothing but wanting to go up against Cara, wanting to eliminate her, being so confident. And like I mentioned, the history between these two, not just over their entire friendship and since season 19, but this season in particular, the last few episodes, especially last episode with everything that happened, like knowing that we could have had Laurel versus Cara is a little disappointing. But like I said, Cara versus Cam is still exciting. It's just when it comes down to it, see what we could have got, and it's like, that would have been great. And it has me looking at Laurel in a little bit of a different light. You know, Laurel, I always felt was like ruthless, unrelenting force. She talks about Cara's ego, but her ego is just as big. But when it came down to the moment, she shrank. If we're gonna critique other players that only want physical eliminations, like Nicole, like Fessel, I'm gonna say that Laurel, who has a reputation and can be known as a really good overall player, shrinks when she doesn't see a balls in or a pole in the middle of the elimination ring and kind of cowards out. That's a little shocking to me and a little bit disappointing. Yes, this is very risky, but hey, what can I say? She decides to back out and she's going to stay in the game and she'll be able to have more opportunities, I'm sure, but we still get Cara versus Cam in this week's elimination called Caged In. The players are going to have to dive into the water trench / mud pit, collect all 10 of their balls from on top of the cage using their fingers from underneath the cage, and then they're going to have to retrieve all 10 of their balls and put them in their bin. The first player to collect all 10 and put them in their bin will win the elimination. Once Laurel says no thank you, both Cam and Leroy try to persuade her to change her mind, but Laurel says no thank you, have fun going up against Cara. Hope you win, bestie. Cam gets off to an early lead. Problem is that her strategy was a little bit off because she wasn't as focused and she missed a few balls that were over at the far end of the top of her cage. Maybe with all the hubbub of thinking that she wasn't going to compete and then was blindsided by Laurel when she backed out of her deal. And then Cam was too frustrated and flustered heading into the elimination when Cara already knew that she was always going to be in this week's elimination, no matter what. So Cara was able to focus. Her strategy was take the extra time, collect all the balls, make sure you have all 10 next to the hole, and then just dunk them one after another. And her strategy was picture perfect. Because even though Cam got out to a lead, she had to go back and retrieve the 3 balls that were on the far side of the fence, where Cara was able to just pick out one ball after another and easily win this elimination 10-8. Cam and Cara, despite their differences in the house and the way they played the game and that they were on opposite sides of each other, they gave each other a hug, and you can tell that there is respect with one another, even though they just didn't gel on this season. Leroy comes down and shares a moment with Cam, which was very, very awesome. Cara gets her star back from Cam. So with what happened over the last 2 episodes of episode 8 and this week's episode of episode 9, the only net difference is that Tina and Cam have been eliminated. The star holders are back to being Cara, Nicole, Veronica, Adam, Leroy, and Steve. But going back to Laurel's original plan of taking Cara's star and then getting Cara eliminated from the season, I want to say that that's not back at square one with Cara having her star back. We're going all the way back to square 0. Because yes, Cara has her star back, but now Laurel lost a friend and ally in Cam. That's one less vote. That's one less strong player in the game. That's one less influencer in the game to help you out. You also could have lost Leroy with how this all went down. And who can trust you after you went to everybody in the house telling them that you promised that you're going to go into the elimination this week, and you just completely go back on all of that? Who's going to be able to trust you? I think back to season 25 Free Agents. Yes, that was 10 years ago, but when Jordan was going around the whole house saying he wanted to face off against Johnny Bananas, I remember there was a conversation between him and Laurel by the pool where Laurel said, "You told everybody that you would go down there and flip all the kill cards to make sure you go against Johnny Bananas. If you pull out now and aren't a man of your word, what are you then?" It'll be interesting to see what happens later on. Who will have Laurel's back besides Nicole? I'm sure she'll have a few friends like Flora and everything, but what will be the ramifications of Laurel not sticking to her word and also bypassing this opportunity to get her star? We'll have to wait and see how that's all going to play out. But that's where this episode ends. What'd you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What'd you think about the daily challenge? What'd you think about the elimination? What'd you think about Laurel and her plan to go up against Cara in the elimination and then backing out? Were you disappointed that Laurel didn't go down there? Do you think it was a very smart move that she didn't go down there? What do you think about Cam being eliminated from the game? Are you happy? Are you upset about it? I want to know everything you feel about this episode or think about this episode down in the comment section below. But now I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge All-Stars 4 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.